Garrett. Richie is the only presenter for this evening, and so that's why we were able to give you the extensive bio. But without further ado, let me welcome, and I want you to help me welcome Garrett Richie, who will speak on the topic artificial intelligence. Mr. Richie.
Thank you very much, Lester, for that incredible introduction. I want to take a class with that guy. Um, the I did have a slide in my presentation to introduce myself, but I think I'll be able to skip that thanks to that very, very thorough introduction. So I appreciate that very much. And I'd just like to start by saying that I'm so grateful that you selected me to present here. I really look forward to tonight's presentation. The only thing I think I will need to have, oh, you already made me co-host, so very good. I can share my screen. But but yeah, I was fortunate enough to join during the music session. It was really, really nice to hear some of that wonderful music playing, and I really enjoyed that. And I'm excited to present to you all. So I know last time I did a presentation, I was a bit long-winded. So my goal for today is to try to keep it succinct and within the time frame and parameters that you gave me, Lester. So I want to just dive right in. Let me just go ahead and share my screen here just to get started. Let's see here. Okay, just for confirmation, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, so Leslie, you did give me a little bit of background in terms of the audience and as well as the I guess the main agenda or the topics that we wanted to discuss. So like you mentioned in the intro, this is about artificial intelligence, and it's artificial intelligence explained in a very, very basic way. So I called it AI Explain, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to explain it plainly, calmly, and practically. So by the end of this talk, you should be able to clearly answer three things. Number one is what AI is. Number two, what AI is absolutely not. And number three is how it's already affecting and being used in everyday life, work, creativity. So I've labeled this the good, the bad, and the useful. So without further ado, I'd like to just dive right in. One thing I will say, you did make note about questions, Lester. I did leave some time at the end of the presentation for questions. So I'd ask everyone to just hold your questions until the very end so we could keep a smooth flow and I can get through all of the content that I have planned for tonight. I would encourage all participants to jot down your questions as you think of them. Just make note if it's specific to a slide, like when you jot your note, just make note of the slide title and the question you have, because I do want at the end to have a very interactive and involved Q&A session. Q&A is one of my favorite parts of any presentation, and I hope to get some very interesting questions and some valuable feedback during that portion of the presentation. So if you'll just allow me to just go through and deliver the content that I have prepared for you. And at the very end, we will have as much time as I'm allowed and that you guys have to answer all of your questions and have some back and forth. So just to get started, let's start off with the agenda. What we're going to do today. So what we'll do is we'll move through this presentation in four simple parts. The first part is the foundations. We're going to discuss what AI is and what it is not, like I mentioned, just clarifying those AI concepts. Second, we're going to discuss some of the myths, fears, the good, the bad, the risks, and how we can use it responsibly and ethically. Third, I will demonstrate a few practical everyday uses, basically how people and individuals and companies are actually using this technology right now. Some of you may have dabbled with it already. Some of you may have never touched it, or I know that the audience probably ranges in experience with AI, so I will just provide a few brief demonstrations on what it's like to interact with artificial intelligence and some of the common uses for practical everyday life. And then finally, fourth, I'm going to go into some more in-depth use cases for AI. In business and how it can actually help you to work smarter, not harder. All right. Nothing today that we're going to cover requires any specific technical knowledge. If you can send a text message or send an email or use a search engine like Google, you're already qualified to understand everything that I'm going to discuss today. So let's move on to the next slide here. And just kind of an intro slide. So when people hear artificial intelligence, typically one of three emotions or reactions happen right away. Some people feel excited, like, wow, this is amazing. Some people feel confused, like, I don't really get it. I don't understand what this is or how this is gonna impact me or the world around me. And then thirdly, what I found is some people feel very uneasy or afraid. They immediately jump to questions like, is this dangerous? Should I be concerned? Is this the end of the world? I don't know. So we're going to discuss all of that stuff today. All three of those types of reactions are very, very understandable. Um, Today isn't about convincing anyone to love artificial intelligence necessarily. It's more so about understanding it well enough that fear doesn't run the story for us. And you are able to make an informed decision on how or if you and or your organization may wish to proceed with the implementation of artificial intelligence. Okay, so that's kind of in a nutshell. Just a little intro to what we're going to cover today. Now, as I mentioned a minute ago, I had a little introduction, uh, but Lester already covered that in depth. So I won't bore you with who I am once again, but I'll just move on to the next slide here. So here we're going to start with the core foundations of artificial intelligence. This is the section title. So what exactly is AI or artificial intelligence? Um, at its simplest, artificial intelligence is basically software that analyzes um, patterns and predicts and generates responses based on those predictions. It's software in a nutshell. Many people have lots of confusion about artificial intelligence as though it's some sentient being or some, you know, non-technical entity, but it is essentially just the most powerful software and technical innovation mankind has ever created. It is moving at an exponential pace. And I think that might be what's a bit scary for quite a few people is just how quickly AI technology is evolving. But as it stands today, it is just it analyzes patterns, generates responses based on what's the most likely character, what's the most likely word to follow, or what's the most likely token. And forgive me, it's going to be a bit challenging. I can't explain all the ins and outs in a 1 hour or 40-minute session, but I'm going to try my best to break it down as best I can within the time that we have. But AI doesn't think, it does not understand, it simply predicts. It predicts just like I'm sure many of you have used WhatsApp or text message or Google search. How many of you have started a Google search and you type in what is, and then it automatically makes a bunch of suggestions or recommendations? That's a predictive technology And AI is not very different from that. It's just that, but on a whole new level. All right. So the same type of technology that we've already used to. Spam filters use artificial intelligence. If you watch TV on Netflix or you watch YouTube videos, and when they make recommendations based on your previous habits, your previous watch history, even things like your demographic data, like when you fill in like your country, your date of birth, whether you're male or female, these types of things. The software that runs Netflix, YouTube, all of these different media applications, they recommend titles to you based on what other people who match your profile might like, or people who've watched the shows or the videos that you've watched might like. So it's a predictive mechanism. Now, what I'm talking about now is the first generation of artificial intelligence. Later on in the course or in the presentation, I'll speak to you about the three main different types of AI. This first type is called machine learning, and machine learning is the very first iteration of AI where it just was strictly pattern recognition and prediction. Um, so that's what I'm talking about now, but it is still technically AI. What's different now with the newer versions of AI is that we can interact with it in conversational human languages. Um, that's called a large language model, LLM, is you might see references to when you research AI. LLMs basically are large language models that's been fed massive amounts of data, and it can understand you on a conversational level. So just like I'm talking to you right now, AI can listen to me, transcribe my voice into text, and actually interact with it and answer questions. And you can have a conversation with AI now. And I think that's why this new version of AI, the large language model versions, that's why it suddenly feels very personal, and that's why some people have some fears about it, because it doesn't feel like you're searching Google. It feels like you're actually conversing with a person, and that's just how advanced the technology has gotten. But yeah, it examines large data sets. AI has been fed the most ridiculous amounts of data from all over the world. Basically, the entire internet has been fed into AI as well as other sources of data, and it's used all of that to create a neural network, which is just a fancy way of saying like a large database of information that it can connect the dots and create patterns to help you. And that's kind of related to my next slide, the pattern analysis for predictions. All right, so AI systems use pattern recognition and data to predict outcomes. They don't truly think or understand. Um, so some examples, like I mentioned earlier, were the text predictions on your phones, autocomplete search engines. There are some limitations to AI, all right? Despite seeming intelligent, AI can be incorrect, since it relies on existing data and not actual understanding. So sometimes it can get the prediction wrong. And sometimes it could basically guess wrong what you were intending it to do. Particularly as we get later in the presentation, particularly when your questions, or what would be called in AI prompts, are not structured ideally. So you need to learn the best way to talk to AI in order to get the best responses from AI. But AI is not intelligent. It can be incorrect. And that's something that we'll talk about later on that you need to be on the lookout for, and to just essentially not trust it blindly. Um, so that's in a nutshell what AI is. AI is a prediction engine that basically you can interact with using conversational language, and it can give you responses and even generate things like documents, images, videos, websites, applications. The generative AI is something that personally I'm most excited about. The documents save me a lot of time. The generative AI really unlocks a whole new area of productivity that was not existent before. So that's something that's very interesting to me, and we'll discuss that a little bit later as well. These first slides are more introductory in nature. So we talked about what AI is. What AI is not. AI is not conscious. It is not emotional. It is not moral or immoral. AI is not alive. It does not make ethical decisions. It doesn't choose right from wrong. All right. All of that responsibility continues to stay with human beings. AI will present you with information based on your prompts or your questions, and it's up to you to decipher that or to edit it or to make it your own or to um, work with it in whatever capacity you need. Um, that responsibility of staying with human beings is still very, very much necessary. Um, then the last slide, when I talked about AI getting information wrong, in the AI world, we call that AI hallucination. Hallucination is basically AI making up information that it presents to you as fact that may not be factual. So that's why the human element is still very much necessary. Um, Artificial intelligence is a tool, and that's what we need to remember. It's a technology tool, just like the calculator was a tool, right? Remember, some of you may remember anyway, there was a time when most people didn't have calculators, and you had to take a piece of paper and a book, and if you had six numbers to add up, you carry the one and you do that. But when calculators became common, we were able to just punch it into a calculator and get the answers instantly and pretty accurately as long as we typed the right numbers in. That's kind of how we should think about AI as a tool. It's only going to give us what we put into it, and it's just a tool to help us to work faster, more efficiently, and that's very, very important to remember at this stage. It can only do what it has been programmed to do and programmed by humans to do. AI is not sentient at this point. Put that in there, but we'll talk more about that on the next slide. The next slide talks about the three different types of AI. So there are a few different types, three more than three, but these are the three main ones. The first type is the machine AI, sometimes called narrow AI. These models are designed to focus specifically on very, very targeted tasks, and they do not have the capacity to learn. So they've been designed to focus just on those. It does a specific job. It follows a predefined set of rules. These rules are sometimes called algorithms. If you ever hear that term thrown around, an algorithm is essentially at its core a set of if then else rules. If this happens, then do this, else do that, and so on and so forth. So the original old school AI, and I put old school in brackets there, really was just it just followed rules, and it was designed to do a very specific job. So autocomplete would be an example of a machine AI that was just designed to finish your sentence. That was it. But where we are today is in this middle section, the generative AI and LLMs. All right, these models are able to understand human language. And that was the tremendous breakthrough in the evolution of artificial intelligence. As soon as AI became a platform that anyone, absolutely anyone, can just interact with in plain English, just like I'm talking to you right now. If just like you might ask a colleague or a friend or a family member a question, you can ask AI the same question. If you were to hire somebody to create a business plan for you, and you describe to that person in plain English what you want your business plan to include or what your business will be about, you can do the very same thing with AI, and it can produce for you a draft of a business plan. Just one example, and I'll demonstrate that later. But the generative AI, being able to communicate with it in plain English changed the game. The machine AI, the prior version, you had to be a technologist. You had to be somebody who knew programming languages. You had to know how, if you wanted to make a change or interact with the AI on a deep level, you needed to know how to understand the programming language that's being used and make edits in the code and the source code that way. Whereas with artificial intelligence today, with the large language models, we could just talk to it. And I think that's why it became so ridiculously popular so fast. It's taken off like a rocket. All right. So in addition to just understanding your human language, it learns from your input over time. It has a built-in memory function. So the more you use it, the more it learns you. It learns your writing style. It learns what you liked and what you didn't like. Every time you make an adjustment, maybe you produce that business plan that I mentioned, and then you said, no, I don't like this. It sounds too formal. Let's make it a bit more casual. Or, I don't like the way that you um formatted the financial section. Let's use tables instead. And the more you interact with it, the next time you come back and ask for something similar, AI will remember that. And you'll find that your first result is better than it was the last time you tried, because it does have the ability to remember and learn from all of your input, and learn all about you and your likes and dislikes and preferences. It can mimic basic human thinking. That's why it feels like it's alive, and that's what's scary for a lot of people. But it is an act job. It's not actually thinking like a human, but it presents itself that way. So that's something that I think people who have fears about AI should find some solace in, is that it's not actually thinking. In fact, the AI models typically say, like, if you ask it a question, there's normally a bubble that says thinking, and it'll wait a few seconds before it responds. It's not actually thinking, it's running code in the background before it produces the result. Um, and then the generative creative abilities of this um, the generative ability is something that people are having a lot of fun with. You can create images, you can create audio, you can create video, and you can combine them all together. You can create websites, you can create flyers. The list goes on and on. But the generative, to be able to generate something new from just conversational language is incredible. So instead of going to a graphic designer and saying, hey, I need a logo for my company and I want it to be blue and black and I want it to be clean and simple and have an icon and the name, that you can feed all of this into AI and it'll produce you, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. And then you could pick your favorite one and then make additional changes to it. Very, very, very great at that. From a business standpoint, you can also take an image, take a photo of yourself and say, upload it and say, put me in a garden, or put me on a beach somewhere, and it'll take the image of you and slap it on a beach. That does open up the doors to some other concerns like deep fakes, which we'll get into later. But deep fakes is basically like false advertising, an image or a video that was created. I'm sure you've seen some of them already. That's not real, but is presented as though it were real. So that is a concern, and we'll talk about that when we get into more of the ethics and responsible use. Now, the final column on this slide is something called general sentient AI. And this topic is where most people start to get a bit fearful about artificial intelligence. You might hear this term, artificial superintelligence, sometimes called ASI, or general intelligence, right? Where This is not a technology that exists today. I'll start with that. This does not exist as at December 4th, 2025. There is no record of such a AI being in existence today. It is strictly a theoretical idea about a future machine that could potentially outperform humans in intellectual tasks, in all intellectual tasks. There is no system anywhere in the world right now that comes close to this. Everything that we talk about today and that we use today, tools like ChatGPT, tools like Gemini, tools like Copilot, they all fall under the category called um, language-based AI, or the LLM models, the generative AI models, that middle column that you see there. They are tools with very clear limitations. They are not sentient, and they don't have a mind of their own. Um, there is a fear in the general community that this technology is going to emerge at some point, and AI will start doing things that we didn't program it to do. But we are not there. That's not where we are. And there are many, many organizations around the world that are working relentlessly to ensure that that does not happen, that AI does not escape and get out of the box and become able to program itself and basically cause harm. They're focused on missions like do no harm, similar to the doctor's creeds, right? Where the AI has to follow a rule where it is not allowed to cause harm to a human being, um, to any one human being. Um, so that's something that should make you feel a little bit better, hopefully. But yeah, we're in this middle category, the generative AI category. So why AI can feel intimidating sometimes. So let's be honest, AI can feel overwhelming because it seems to have come out of nowhere, and it gained tremendous popularity so very, very fast. Um, 5 years ago, nobody was talking about AI, and now it's hard to buy a cup of coffee without hearing somebody talk about artificial intelligence. It's everywhere. It's this term called exponential growth, right? So it started off very, very slow. It went through something called AI winters where it started and then stopped for a while, then they picked it back up. But mostly due to the increase in computing power that we have today, the processing power, the what they call CPUs and GPUs and NPUs. You don't have to worry about what those mean, but those are just the processing power that we have today in our technology. AI just took off, and now governments and private entities are investing very, very heavily in infrastructure and data farms that will allow AI to just be more and more and more powerful and faster and more able to do some really, really incredible things. But the rate of change is something that personally I find a bit intimidating. I'm used to a fast changing technology environment. I'm not used to this. Nobody's used to this. Um, I can tell you for a fact that um, I'll give you an example. I'm currently teaching a 36-hour AI course. I was forced to create my content for every class um, week by week. Instead, normally I would create the entire class syllabus and content before the class even starts, before class number one. In this scenario, I have to create my content 1 week at a time, because if the class is 9 weeks long, and if I had created the entire thing before the first week, by the time I got midway through the course, it would have been outdated. So that's just how quickly things are changing. And just last week, as an example, on Monday, I created my presentation for class at the end of that week. And just because I like to be thorough and prepared, the Thursday, that Thursday, I said, let me just go and check through my demonstrations and my activities that I had planned, just to test them to make sure that they're going to work as I planned. And sure enough, two out of the five activities completely changed because the AI platform, they came up with new AI, right? Like Gemini went from Gemini 2 to Gemini 3 overnight. And then also ChatGPT went from ChatGPT 5 to ChatGPT 5.1. They introduced Nano Banana and some other technologies. You don't have to worry about all that now, but just know that they come up with new technologies um, almost, it feels like on a daily basis. So I can use AI today and tomorrow, all of a sudden, I have brand new features and capabilities at my fingertips that change the way that my processes work. So that can be a challenge and can make it feel intimidating. So the rapid changes in AI, complex terminology. A lot of people get confused. Things like tokens and multimodal content and the nano banana and canvas and deep research, and the list goes on. Like, what do these things mean? They keep coming up with these new technical jargon and terms that you have to go and figure out how to use. um but yeah, but one moment most people barely heard about or knew what AI was. Then suddenly it's in the news, it's on your social media, it's in businesses, it's in schools, churches, conversations everywhere. And all it takes is a few dramatic headlines on top of that, and fear gets amplified quickly. All right. Fear is understandable, but fear without understanding always exaggerates the danger and hides the benefit. So, my goal today, in part, is to reduce your fear so that you can understand AI better and understand the benefits that it offers and figure out a way for your unique circumstance, whether that's in your personal life, in your business, in your church, in your organization, in your communities, wherever, how you can use AI to make things better. Because AI is meant to be a productivity tool to make things better. Um, so why does AI matter now? I love this little quote here. At the top, I put it here from Kai-Fu Lee, a former president of Google, the China office, where he says that AI is going to change the world more than anything in history of mankind, more than electricity. And I absolutely agree with him. Um, Electricity was a huge change. We can go back throughout the entire history and the invention of different things, whether it's electricity, airplanes, the postal service. All of these things changed the world, but they typically change specific industries, or they come on stream slowly. Maybe the vehicle, the moving from horse and buggy to motorized vehicles. That didn't happen overnight. That didn't happen in 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. That happened over years and years and years, where a few people, maybe the elite had it, and then a few other people got it, and then it soon got more and more affordable, and eventually it became commonplace. AI is different than that. Whereas it's accessible to anyone with a smartphone or a computer, anyone with a device that's connected to the internet. And for the most part, it's free. It's absolutely free. So there's no barrier to entry. Anyone could just start using AI right now, right? After this class today, you can just go and go to ChatGPT, go to Gemini, go to Copilot, and start using AI at no cost and actually produce something that might be valuable to you within minutes. And that is why it's such a groundbreaking technology. So it's a transformative technology. It gives you a competitive edge. Um, Businesses are identifying tech opportunities and adopting it in business. Right now, most recent stats I had on it was that over 50% of small businesses use AI regularly as at today. Um, so right now, more than half of the businesses, this was in North America, which included Canada, North America, and the USA. We didn't have stats specifically on the Bahamas, but we're from what I've seen in the local market, it's not far off from that. But at least 50% use AI right now. And then in 2026, the prediction is that over 80% plan to increase AI investments. So I do believe that in the next year or two, most businesses will use AI in some capacity. So that's why we need to understand it and learn how to use it effectively. So let's look at a few use cases for AI. We'll start off with some everyday use cases. So people already use AI for everyday tasks right now. This could be summarizing articles, research, helping with homework, helping with studies, learning new skills, planning trips, translating languages, drafting emails, and so on. This is a very, very useful tool. Like I said, it's free for anyone to just go and use right now. But this is an everyday use case. I, for example, use AI every single day, not just for my work, but for my personal life as well. I can't tell you the last time I've went to Google to search for an answer. If I'm looking for, a breakfast restaurant near me, I could go to Google or I can go to ChatGPT or Gemini. I just prefer personally the responses I get when I say, tell me about the top 10 breakfast restaurants in my area. And they'll list it and then give me the pros and cons and prices and all of that stuff in a nice, clean format. Really, really useful stuff. I use it to summarize long documents. Sometimes I get really long documents from clients, for example, hundreds of pages, sometimes 200 pages, and I could just upload the PDF, upload the document into ChatGPT or Gemini and say, summarize this document and give me the 10 key points and put it in bullet form and give me an executive summary at the beginning and a conclusion at the end. I can do that and it produces it in seconds. Now, I still will probably go through and read it through myself, most of it, but immediately I can get a good sense of what's in this document. Really, really handy. I also use AI to teach me new things, things that I might not be aware of. One funny side note is, well, I find it funny, but I'm a bit nerdy and techie. AI is not great at teaching you about AI. Um, I don't know why, but it tends to be out of date. And I guess it's because it's been fed so much information on older versions of AI. So a few times AI has come up with a new product, a new version of itself or a new feature that it launched. Um, and I might ask the AI, tell me about your new feature, right? And how it works and how I should use it. And it doesn't do a very good job at all. That can be frustrating, actually, because there's not a lot of publicly available information out there. So they release a new feature yesterday, and today you stumble across it and you ask AI to explain it to you. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But I found that to be surprisingly one of its weakest areas of helping you understand the topic. So I just thought that was funny, and I'd share that briefly. Some professional and workplace uses. In workplaces, it helps with writing, research, organizing information, summarizing meetings, building presentations. Um, and just so you know, like AI is not about replacing people. That's another concern that many people have, is that AI will replace everyone's job. That's not really the goal, at least not how it appears today. It's really about being a tool and helping people think, organize, and create faster than ever before. Basically allowing you to do more with less and increasing your efficiency and your productivity. Um, a little quote here from Jeff Bezos from Amazon. Most of you may know of him. He has a quote here that says, AI will be part of every industry, enhancing our abilities in ways we can't even imagine yet. And I think that is a very, very true statement. We cannot imagine how much AI will be integrated into every single industry and how it will will enhance our abilities. All right. So there's a saying, and I think I mentioned it later on in the presentation, where I say like AI won't replace people, but people who know how to use AI will replace people who don't. And that's kind of in a nutshell what it is, because businesses see the value in AI and they're going to want to use AI. So it's very important for job security, for those of you that work for corporations and not for yourselves, to ensure that you stay up to date on AI and at least have a working knowledge of how it works. Well, some creative uses. I've mentioned some of these already, but it can be used for writing, images, video creation, social media and marketing innovation, music. It's being used for everything. The creative aspect is really fun to play around with. But yeah, you can generate graphics. You could, create images, videos, social media posts, all of that stuff in seconds. Where previously you would have to either learn those skills or hire somebody with those skills to bring that to life. And then not just the cost associated with that, but the time. If I hired a graphic designer to create a logo for my company, it might cost me $800 and it might take me 30 days to get it back. Whereas here it costs me $0 and I get it back in 30 seconds. So that's kind of wild to think about, right? Um, the three major tools. Today, we're going to focus on just these three. There are many, many other tools. I'll point that out. There are hundreds of AI tools. But these three tools, ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot, these are kind of risen to the top and stayed there. They are by far the most popular ones. There are others like Grok, Perplexity, Claude, DeepSeek, um, and I can't even remember all of the others, but they seem to be popping up, two or three pop up every day. But these three have been consistently at the top of the game. So we're going to focus today on the capabilities of these three AI tools, and my demos that I'm going to show you in a minute will utilize all three of those to just show you what they look like. But in a nutshell, ChatGPT is great for general thinking and writing. That's where its main strength is. That's not to say it can't do any of the other things, but that's where its key strengths lie, is in general thinking. Like if you have questions and want to learn something, or you wanted to write something for you, or you have like 10 pages of random notes. Maybe you sat in a college class and took a bunch of notes. You could just take all those notes and dump it into ChatGPT and say, make sense of my notes, and create a little ebook that explains this to me. With just random keywords, it could kind of get a gist of what the lesson was about and really teach it to you. Really cool stuff. Gemini, its claim to fame is its multimodal capabilities. Multimodal capabilities um, essentially means that it's great at handling different formats of data. So if you want to work with text, image, audio, video, all of these things and combined, it can do a fantastic job of that. You can like ChatGPT can create that logo for you, but Gemini, you can say, here are three logos that I like. Make me a logo that is comparable to this, or that matches this style and this general feel of these other logos. So it can analyze images. You could have a photo that contains text. You could upload that photo and say extract all the text. You could take a picture of a document, for example, upload it to Gemini and say extract the text from this photo, and it'll do a perfect job in seconds. It also integrates with the Google application suite, like Google Gmail, um, Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Drive, all the different Google apps. Very great for that. And then Microsoft has its version called Copilot, which is They have a web version that's like ChatGPT, but its real claim to fame is that Copilot can exist within your Microsoft Windows operating system and within your Microsoft Office applications. So if anyone uses Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, things like that, you can buy a Copilot subscription. It is a paid subscription for that feature, but it can get integrated into your applications. And instead of going to ChatGPT, generating a document and then copying it and pasting it into Microsoft Word, you can actually within Word create it right there within the application. Very, very powerful stuff. So these tools are available now, and people are using them every single day in order to work smarter, not harder. Um, so let's take a dive. Let's look at a few simple real world examples that show how everyday people are using AI. All right. And I have another quote here from Satya from Microsoft. He says that the key to productivity isn't working more, it's working with smarter tools. And AI is the smartest tool yet. So here's our first example that I'm going to show you. So here we have a scenario that I've created with some dummy data where we're going to analyze some financial data. So I've used this prompt. If you look at the prompt here in orange, I use this prompt to analyze 6 months of revenue in a matter of seconds. So AI is able to highlight trends, anomalies, and even give suggested actions. It's a real game changer for helping people make decisions. So what you're about to see is AI identifying trends, summarizing data, and making sense of those numbers really quickly. So on the left here, I have the sample prompt where you can see I in orange, this is what I'm going to type into the box. Over on the right of the screen is just this is a pre-recorded video. I didn't want anything to go wrong during the presentation. But I'm going to basically take this text, this prompt, my question, my instructions. I'm going to put that into, this is ChatGPT on the right, clean, simple box. Where should we begin? I'm just going to say analyze this financial data set. And right below that, you see a simple spreadsheet that shows the month, the revenue, the marketing, how much we spent on marketing, how many new customers we got, how many returning customers we got, how many refunds were issued. So I'm just going to hit play and you can watch it do its thing. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to upload my spreadsheet, the spreadsheet that I've previewed over here on the left. I just uploaded the spreadsheet into ChatGPT, and then I'm going to paste my prompt. You would normally type this, on the fly, but I created the prompt. So I analyze this financial data set and generate a clear internal analysis, identify key trends, et cetera, et cetera. So as you can see, ChatGPT is now analyzing, and then it's going to, in a few seconds, just start producing a complete financial report based on this spreadsheet of information. It's able to read my file that I uploaded and create a complete analysis of that data. All right, so here we go. First of all, it started off, it created some charts to show my revenue and the returns that I got. It showed me the revenue trends, the marketing spend, customer acquisition, refunds, revenue per customer, anomalies and notable events. It shows that March was an increase in spend and refunds. There's correlations, summary and recommendations. It did all of that within seconds. So if your job was to look at the books, look at the company information, or look at your personal budget and try to see what's going wrong, like I spent a lot more money this year than I did last year, but I can't really tell where. And it could be a huge statement of financial records, and you could upload it here and it'll make sense of it in seconds and really clearly outline exactly what changes you need to make from a business perspective or from a personal perspective, et cetera. If we move on to the next example, it's doing it again. All right, the next example is something that's the easiest one. And I'd encourage you guys that if you've never used ChatGPT or an AI model before, I'd encourage you to um to start with this one. Basically, write an email however you would normally write it, and then paste it into ChatGPT, and then use a prompt like I have here, this sample prompt that says, rewrite this email in a more professional and respectful tone. Make it clear, concise, and polite while keeping the original content. So if you look at the original content, this is not a great email. It says, hey, I was wondering if maybe you can do something about the invoice because I don't think it's right. It looks kind of high, and I'm not sure why that much was charged since we didn't use everything and the services wasn't all done like we talked about before. Also, nobody told me that the prices would be going up, so I feel like this isn't really fair. Can you look into and maybe fix it or explain it better? Anyway, I hope we can figure it out because it's a bit frustrating. Call me when you can. THX John. It's not the most professional business email. And if you want to be taken more seriously and potentially get your refund or what have you, you might want to present that email in a more professional capacity. So you'll watch me now go ahead and paste that prompt. In the beginning, I say rewrite. I put my prompt at the beginning and then I provide the email at the end. And then I just hit next or hit up, start. And immediately it produces a more professional and respectful rewrite of that email. You can see here it says, hi, recipient name. So instead of saying, hey, you'll say, hi, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so. I reviewed the recent invoice and had a few concerns. I'd appreciate your help clarifying. The total seems higher than expected, especially since some of the services we discussed weren't fully completed and certain items weren't used. I also wasn't made aware of any price increases beforehand, so the current charges caught me off guard. Would you be able to take a look and either make the necessary adjustments or provide a breakdown to help me better understand the charges? I'm confident we can sort this out, but I'd appreciate a call when you have a moment to discuss. Thanks in advance, John. Doesn't that sound like a much better email? And any company receiving that email will probably take it a lot more seriously, just by nature of the professional tone and the respectful tone that's being used. So that's something that you can use AI for right now. Um, I know we're running low on time, so I'll just go through a couple more demos here. Here's one that I find very fun and practical, how we could use a basic prompt to produce a real document. So we're going to create a business plan, a very, very simple business plan. Um, it's going to be create a one-page business plan for a mobile dog grooming service in the Bahamas. Now, over on the right, we have, this is Microsoft Word that's open, that has Copilot built into it. So watch as I take this orange prompt where I say create a business plan for a mobile dog grooming service in the Bahamas. That's all the instruction I gave it. Watch what happens in Microsoft Word when I just tell it that. So you'll see me here. I'll paste that into there, create a business plan for a mobile dog grooming service, and I hit next. Watch what Word does thanks to Copilot. All right, it's instantly creating. It's an executive summary, business objectives, services offered, target market, marketing strategy, operations plan, financial overview, and a conclusion, right? I can go and make further adjustments to it, or I can just say keep it as is. So once I do that, now this is in my Microsoft Word. I could come in here and manually change things up, rewrite certain parts of it, add additional content, but it gives us a good draft, a good baseline to start with. So rather than starting from scratch, instead of opening up Microsoft Word and looking at a blank page, and having to come up with a whole business plan, you can do something like this. It generates the initial structure, generates the initial content, and then you as the human can come behind and actually make changes and make it your own, which is something I strongly recommend. Very, very powerful tool. And that's just one of many, many. I don't have time to show you them all, but I just wanted to show you a few of them. Here I'm going to use Gemini. So we use ChatGPT um, to rewrite our email. We use Copilot to produce a business plan. Now I'm going to use Gemini to create a logo for the same business plan that we just created. So we happy with our business plan. Um, Now we need a logo. All right, we just need like something for the letterhead or something for a business card or something. So notice that I'm here in Gemini. I just said create a logo for Mobile Paws Grooming Service, a pet grooming business that's in the Bahamas. Now, image and video generation can take some time. So you'll notice that this one here does take a minute to generate. But once it does generate, it's going to give you something. Sometimes it knocks it out of the park on the first shot, and other times you might have to go and edit it and change it up a little bit. So in this example, it's going to produce something for me here, and you see that it produced the logo. I don't love it. It went with really colorful and cartoony stuff. So I said, you know what? Make this logo more professional and only use two colors is what I typed just now. So you can take the same logo that you just produced and continue to rework it until you get it just how you want it. So I told it to use the same logo, but make it more professional and just use two colors. I didn't want it too colorful. Even though it is a dog grooming business, I wanted it to be a little bit more professional. So now here we have a logo, and I still don't love it, but I just wanted to show you an idea. And you can go in and copy it, download it, share it, use it however you'd like. So that's just another really awesome use case. And Gemini excels at multimodal image generation. Um, So text to video, that's not the slide I wanted. This this one is the one. Um, Sorry. All right, yeah, this one. So the expanding role of AI. I don't have time to go into all of this because again, I'm getting long-winded, tried to cover too much, but text to video creation. I just wanted to show you down here. These are two videos that I created with just a text prompt. Now, I wonder if you're going to be able to hear me. I think last time you could not share computer sound. Um, yeah, okay. So this is a video that I created using Sora or Gemini Veo. I just gave it a text prompt and it's able to,
AI helps
like,
entrepreneurs
this is not a
create
real
engaging
person.
posts, blogs, emails, and videos
Sorry.
to attract and retain customers.
And then another one over here. Like, this is not real. This is AI. I said, create a picture of a paper boat um, going down a rainy street, I think it was, I said. And it was able to create this. I mean, this looks extremely realistic. And it's becoming more and more difficult to tell the difference between real and fake. So that's one of the, but the expanding role of AI, text to video creation, AI chatbots. So you go on many websites and you interact with the little chatbot. A lot of times they will initially anyway, you'll be speaking with an AI agent asking it questions, and only after you find that it's not able to help you does a human get involved. But rather than having 1,000 people man the support chat on a website, you might just need 10 people because AI is able to help 99% of them. You could use it for music and branding, sales agents, and planning, robotics, and AI integration as well. Um, so just to speak about the demos that we just saw, the better your question, the better the AI response. So you need to have clarity in your prompts. You need to have defined goals, and you need to provide it with context. And the best way to do that, there's a number of different what they call frameworks for framing your prompts and questions to AI. But one of the best that I've personally found is something called the AIM model, AIM. A stands for actor, I for input, and M for mission. So anytime you're prompting AI, you want to start off with telling AI who it should pretend to be. So say, you are my lawyer, you are my doctor, you are um my accountant, you are my sales manager, whatever. If you start off with telling it who it should, which role it should play, and then you give it the input, give it real information to work with, and then you give it a mission. You state a very clear goal, tell it exactly what you want done. And a good example of that is just on the bottom of this slide. Act as a professional editor. Here is my email, upload your email, and you say rewrite it to sound clear and confident. That is a very, very strong prompt. And you're going to get a much better result if you use that form when you're prompting AI than if you were to just paste in your email and say rewrite it. All right. You could also do things like your target audience, rewrite it. I'm using this for my church group. I'm using this for my business team huddle meeting in the morning or something like it. It'll then use vocabulary and tone and formats that are more appropriate. All right, so let's get into the last part of the class here where we talk about the benefits and the risks. So the benefits and the risks, the key benefits, AI helps people save time. Since I've been using AI heavily, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that I am able to accomplish so much more. I can't even put a number to it. I was gonna say 10 times or 50 times or whatever. I don't even know how much times it is. But I know when I think back on what I was able to do within an 8-hour workday 5 years ago compared to what I'm able to do today, thanks to AI, it's not even close. So AI helps people save time. It increases access to knowledge. It helps people communicate better. It helps people learn faster. All of these things are happening right now today. So that's the good behind AI. Some things to be on the lookout for. Power always requires wisdom. That whole with great power comes great responsibility. AI should never, ever replace human judgment. It should not replace human accountability, and it should not replace human ethics. One thing to remember is that if you use AI to produce a document or produce an email, let's say you work for an insurance company and you have to provide a quarterly report and you use AI to produce that report and you submit it to your manager. Your manager then tells you that there's 5 mistakes and errors or made up facts or whatever in this report. You don't really have a leg to stand on if you go and you tell that manager, well, sorry, that was AI. No, the manager didn't ask AI, the manager asked you. So you are responsible for the final product that you share. Whether you're sharing it with the general public, whether you're sharing it with colleagues or staff or to your team or friends or family or whatever, you have to take responsibility for it. That is the current standard. Blaming AI is not a valid excuse for errors and mistakes. So you must fact check everything. You want to use AI for drafts and brainstorming. Great at brainstorming, especially someone like me where I could be all over the place. I could just dump all of my random ideas into one document or a chat, and then AI can help me organize it and make sense of it. Then, sorry. Then you want to write clear prompts, like I just mentioned. Don't share private data either. So don't upload your bank statements and credit card statements and health records and medical stuff. Like, no, don't do that. AI claims, like there are settings to where you can say, don't share my information with the general public to make AI better. Personally, I don't trust it. I don't recommend it. You trust it either. So do not upload and share actual information. If actual sensitive information, what they call PII, personal identifiable information. Instead, if you do want to analyze, for example, a financial report for your business, the recommendation is to sanitize the report first. Remove any company identifiable information and make sure you don't have customer information, make sure you don't have credit card numbers, make sure you don't have anything that you wouldn't want to just be on the internet. So you want to remove that, sanitize the document before you upload it. Watch out for bias and errors. Always respect privacy. Keep the client or sensitive info out of the chat. Mine copyright as well. AI content is not copyrighted by default. So if you produce a document or a logo or something through AI, somebody else could take it from you or use it without your permission, because it's not your content. You can use AI to generate a rough draft. You can edit it, make it your own, and then copyright it. You can do that, but by default, that dog logo that I produce in Gemini is not copywritten. Somebody else, you could screen grab it just now and use it for your own business, and I can't say anything about it. I can't say that's mine. And then lastly, I want you to always be transparent. You should let clients or individuals that you share AI content with, let them know that this was generated by AI. There's nothing wrong with that. There's, more and more people understand that AI isn't some magic, you know, fairy godmother that just created something out of thin air. Like you had input. You had to ask the right questions. You had to revise it. You had to edit it. But you can just put like a little footer. This was created with the help of AI, something like that. It's good for transparency with the client, and it's also good in case something isn't right. Not that you could then go and blame AI, but at least it gives you a little bit of wiggle room. And it's not, you know, for the last 5 years, you've been sending documents that look like garbage, and then all of a sudden you send the most professional thing and pretending like you wrote it. Your manager, your client, your whoever is gonna feel like you're deceiving them. So you can easily say very clearly, hey, AI helped me to do this, but I, also had a hand, I made some edits myself, but AI was involved. That's always a good thing to do. Almost done. Never trust AI blindly. AI can sound confident, very confident when it's wrong. That's why human verification matters. Also, a good thing to do with AI is ask it for its sources, especially if it's a research document. Say, provide your results, but provide your sources. And they can give links and little citations to where it got its information from. That can really help you with your own cross-referencing the content with valid, reputable sources. Another little side trick to do is if you produce something in one AI, take it and copy it into another AI. So if you produce something in ChatGPT, once you're happy with it, copy it and paste it into Gemini and say, hey, Gemini, check this for errors or for hallucinations. And one AI can help you check the other. That's just a little like pro tip. So yeah, you want to verify sources, assess assumptions and biases, and value human judgment. Always, the human has to be the last, the fail-safe. So the ugly risks, manipulation through deep fakes. I'm sure you guys have seen deep fakes before. You're saying, the Pope in a big fluffy jacket, or Donald Trump has a bunch of deep fakes out there, and people are creating all sorts of nonsense to spread misinformation. They can even use deep fakes. Like if they have this video of me, they could take my face and make it look like I said or did something and post it on social media, or blackmail me through online scams and frauds. This is real and it's happening today. So that is a very ugly risk of AI. Deep AI can be misused, and it is being misused by some bad actors. Deep fakes exist, scams exist, they always have. Misinformation exists. It affects elections, it affects lots of different perspectives. But the core truth always stays the same. Technology doesn't choose how it's used. People do. All right. So AI is not determining how it's being used. People are finding a tool to do something bad with it. Right. A hammer could either be used to build a house, or it could be used to commit a crime. And that's kind of what AI is. You need to just be aware of that. And we're just about done. The future and the workforce. This is something that a lot of people have concerns with, and I'll just skim through this really quickly here so I have time for your questions. Skills evolution and job transformation. AI won't replace people. People who learn to work with AI will replace those who refuse to adopt it. All right, that's kind of the main point that I want to drive home in this. It's not just about using AI. It's about learning how to ask better questions. Prompting AI is the new productivity skill. People who learn to work with AI will outpace those who avoid it or who don't adapt. Adaptability is the most important skill you can have right now. So I want to encourage ongoing learning. You don't need to be technical, you just need to be curious. And I want you to learn things like prompt writing, tool integration, and AI ethics awareness. If we look at trends to watch just moving forward in the future, so in 2024, last year, AI saw a huge increase in adoption. Adoption of AI-driven analytics tools to enhance business decision-making processes. This year, in 2025, the rise of ethical AI frameworks aimed at promoting responsible AI usage in business. This is a big deal. A lot of people have concerns about the ethics of AI. So there's a lot of frameworks and a lot of government-sponsored and private-sponsored entities that are focused on making sure that AI remains ethical and responsibly used. Next year, the prediction, everything from, I'm not a psychic, but from 2026 on, growth in AI personalization allows businesses to tailor experiences to individual customer preferences. You're going to see more and more of that, where basically businesses are going to be able to tailor their offerings to individuals thanks to AI. So everyone will have a different experience. We already see this sometimes. Like if I go to my Amazon.com webpage and you go to your Amazon.com webpage, we're going to get different experiences. Mine's going to be full of a bunch of tech stuff and computer gadgets and all of those things, whereas yours might be full of whatever your hobbies and interests are. So imagine that in the real world when you walk into a store or when you signing up for some kind of service online. It's going to be very tailored towards you. In 2027, you're going to have the emergence of AI-driven automation in various sectors, increasing efficiency and reducing operational costs. I think that's going to be a big year where things kind of settle and people really understand how to use it. I think 2026 is going to be a lot of experimenting with it. In 2027, it's going to be where we lock in, these are the tools we're going to use and this is how we're going to use it. By 2028, the prediction is that there's going to be enhanced collaboration between humans and AI, emphasizing AI as a supportive tool in creative processes. So I think that means that AI will be more of a personal assistant. They already have actual humanoid robots. Our smartphones, our computers, our cars, everything is just going to be AI integrated. So we're going to be able to just talk to our house and say, I'm hot. Can you make it cooler? I could just, talk to the house and say, turn off all the lights. Or you could set more complex rules. I want you to turn off the lights at 6 a.m. and turn them on at 6 p.m. outside, but leave the inside lights, as is. You can have these types of verbal conversations with your technology, and I think that's a pretty cool thing. But that's where we're headed in 2028. And that's pretty much it. The final takeaway, just to recap everything, AI is a tool and not a magic solution. It enhances human capabilities. You want to use AI to boost efficiency, not to automate without thought. The quality of your output depends on your input. Well-crafted prompts lead to better responses, basically garbage in, garbage out. Applying AI effectively demands understanding its limits and exercising human judgment and ethics. And finally, AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. The Pandora's box has been opened. The cat is out of the bag. I don't see any possible scenario where AI gets the plug pulled. So we need to learn about it and learn how to best use it in our lives and in our environments. And that's it, question and discussion. So thank you so much for allowing me to share this time with you and walk you through this topic. My sincere hope is that you now see artificial intelligence with a little bit more clarity, a little less fear, and a lot more perspective about how it might be used in your personal life, in your work, and in your communities. And with that being said, just thank you once again for the opportunity. I'm now happy to open up the floor for your questions. I think you have mic access, or we can do the chat option here. It might be difficult. I think we have 54 people in the room, but I'm looking at the chat here now. I see some thank yous. Any questions, guys? Oh, Margarita Sands says, excellent job. My questions are, what is the best AI for creating videos, and how early should children be exposed to that? Very interesting question, the last part. Which is the best AI for creating videos? Right now, I'll preface all of my answers with these are my personal opinions. Things like best and worst and stuff like that are my personal opinions. My personal opinion is Google has something called, in Gemini, they have Google Veo, VEO. And then, but before Veo, there was another company called Sora, Sora. Sora has been in the game a lot longer, and therefore it's a much more polished product. But I actually prefer Google's Veo, to put it simply, in case there are a lot of questions. I prefer Google Veo. It's just easier to use, and it's less expensive because I think there's some limitations, like the free version only gets 10 seconds or something like that. So if you wanted like a 60-second video, you might have to pay like $20 a month or so. How early should children be exposed to this? Well, I think that when you decide to expose your children to the internet in general, which includes general search, general web browsing, and even potentially social media, it's going to be very difficult to prevent them from being exposed to AI. So I would say when they're ready for the internet, they're ready for AI. But I would obviously, as a parent myself, I believe in very, very strong and clear communication. Have that talk with them. If you think that they might already be using it, or if you think that they might be interested in checking it out, be sure to explain to them certain things, in particular things like the ethical ramifications, the hallucination, the fact that you can't just take it at face value. Sometimes AI will hallucinate, and also reminding them that AI is not real. Children tend to blur the lines between fact and fiction, and real and, not real. So they might get into the habit of talking to this AI on their smartphones as a person and get actually attached. There was a case in Japan a few months ago where they had the first human who was a woman who married her AI avatar. She created an AI avatar and actually married the avatar. Obviously it's not a real marriage, but I guess legally speaking, they called it that. But yeah, people can definitely have a lack of sense between what's real and what's not. The same time, like whether you let your child watch a scary movie or not, because they might not understand that monster in the movie is not real. As long as they know that it's not real and you talk to them, they should be fine. Anyone else? Any other questions, guys? Sorry, Lester, I ran over once again. You gotta keep giving me my 40-minute time limit, but plan for me to talk for what was this? An hour and 17.
Good night, Mr. Richie.
Good night.
My name is Elgin Hepburn. Very good presentation, awesome information, because I was one of those persons who didn't know much about AI and stuff like that. So you cleared up a whole lot of stuff for me tonight.
Thank you.
My question is there any industry? I'm in the um animal care industry. I'm in the hotel with Atlantis in the water features department. So we're into the taking care of the aquarium. Is there any industry where the information is less reliable than other industries? So if I went into to kind of find stuff about my industry, or is it that because so much information out there in the on the internet, just about anything it could potentially be any industry can potentially benefit from it?
I have yet to hit a topic that AI did not have the most robust answers for. Um, Anything that you could possibly imagine. They trained these AIs on data sets that are larger than we could ever imagine. Basically, if it exists in digital form publicly, AI is trained on it. And not only is it trained on the actual documents and the web pages and the research articles and scientific journals and educational material and all of that stuff, but it's also able to meld them all together. And instead of just referencing a particular textbook or a particular encyclopedia article or Wikipedia entry, or that it's able to mesh them all together and give you a comprehensive meld of information that's actually considered by most to be better than any individual source that it's been fed. So my answer in the nutshell is that I guarantee you that AI is extremely highly trained in all things um, animal and aquarium and all of that stuff that you got going on there. More so than if you took 100 scientists who spent their life dedicated to that field and asked them a question, you won't get a better answer than what AI will give you. Any other questions? Or did that answer your question, sir?
Very much so. Thank you much.
All righty. I'm seeing some thumbs ups. Is that you have a question or are you just in agreement?
Yeah, one of those was mine. I was in agreement.
I saw Brenda had a thumbs up. I think she might have just been agreeing. But yeah, feel free, guys. Any other questions? I'm open.
Good evening, good evening. Thank you for the information. I was agreeing. Um, I use AI like water,
Mm-hmm.
and my entire garden in my house is based on Chat GPT telling me what to do. I got beets, cucumbers, turmeric, ginger, zinnias, marigolds, all of it. Knew nothing about gardening.
Yeah.
Um, One thing did stump AI, Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
The South Florida iguanas.
Mm. Yeah.
I say she's my friend. I said she.
Be careful
She
with that.
she told me to get the lemons and limes. Peels, I put them outside. The iguanas laid on it. I put hot pepper. The iguanas bathe in it. So that was one thing. But
Mm.
that AI got me a garden, so I love it. The
You know,
iguanas are too much for it.
yeah. Well, don't say that just quite yet. What I would do, if you're really concerned about it, is like take a picture of the iguana, and upload it into it and explain to AI exactly what's happening and let it make a recommendation. It sometimes the first response might not be perfect, but if it didn't, if at first you don't succeed, right, try again. Just
Mm-mm.
give it more information.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Mm-mm.
but another
Mm-mm.
thing I would encourage you to just try, since you like AI so much and you're into the gardening aspect. I saw somebody recently. They did interior home decorating, and they also did gardening and landscaping. And they basically took their phone and they took a picture of their backyard, or they took a picture of an empty living room that they just moved into a house, and they asked Gemini specifically to say, you know, here's the style I like. Maybe even go to Pinterest and find some pictures of stuff that you like. Here's some furniture I like and whatever. Design my living room or show me a landscape option for my backyard, and it's able to do it in seconds, and I've seen some absolutely tremendous results. And you could feed it information on like where you are, so what types of plants are local to your environment and things like that. But I just thought that that might be, didn't really answer your question, but I thought that that might be
No, it
something you
was.
were interested in.
It really wasn't a
Hmm.
question. It's a
Right,
fact. I've
right.
I've bought poultry netting. I've done the cayenne pepper, garlic, everything. I take pictures. I take pictures to do everything on Chat GPT. So the last thing, it's been a year now, and nothing has worked. I
And you've
even
gone back to ChatGPT and told it all the things that you've tried?
I take pictures daily.
But I mean, and you also type in
Yes.
to say, I put the net up, I put the
Oh yeah,
peels
yeah,
out,
yeah.
and this didn't work, and I
Yeah.
have this specific iguana so it just can't figure out these iguanas.
No, I have a subscription, by the way. So
Oh,
I don't even use a free chat.
all right.
So
Have you tried this is ChatGPT you're using?
Chat GPT,
Have
and
you
I
tried the deep research option?
yes, and
Okay.
so her last, I say her last option was to buy an air rifle. I can't do it. I can't. I can't do it. So that's it. That was that. Everything's taken down and everything is in the front. Because I live by
Uh,
water, so that was
mm.
like, yeah, iguana removal. I can't do it. I can't shoot. I cannot be shooting animals now. I can't do it.
I
So that's
got you.
that.
I got you. Yeah, I think that, there are just certain circumstances where it ain't necessarily ChatGPT's fault. Even if you called, you know, the professionals, like companies that have years and years experience,
Exactly.
they probably can't figure it out either.
They
This is
did
just
not. They told me,
it's
mm-mm,
just an
that,
invasive species
right.
and there's nothing you can do, right?
Exactly. I called
Yeah.
them too, and I wasn't gonna pay $1,000 for a month.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad. I'm just saying that the iguana stumped her, but the iguana stumps everybody. So,
Yeah.
except for the people that willing to shoot them.
And I guess even if you did shoot them, the more like you're not gonna shoot them all. Moral come. But I completely understand. Thank you for sharing that. I see Margarita Sands posted in the chat. What are the top 5 AI tools? That's such a tough question. That's tough. That's like my top 5 movies of all time or something. I don't know. I can tell you that ChatGPT, Gemini, and Copilot are the top platforms, but within those platforms, um, there are sub tools per se. Personally, I like Nano Banana image generation. That's a part of Gemini. I like Canvas. That's a part of ChatGPT. I like Gemini has a new AI studio that can be used to create websites and applications. I like that. But the top 5 tools would really depend on what your interests are. Um, so if you're into graphic design, then your top 5 tools would probably be more like the image and video generation and stuff. If you're a writer, your top tools might be Perplexity or Notebook LM um or ChatGPT or Claude. Um, you know, the list goes on. Like so that's a tough one to answer in general, like as such a general term. And 5 AI tools for personal life versus business life versus community life. Those are also very different. So there's no public ranking. It's all personal preference. They all do some amazing things. Okay. Feel free if anyone else has any other questions to chime in.
Mr. Richie, you
Good
answered one.
evening.
Sorry, go ahead.
How do I get a recording of this Zoom platform from
Uh, I have no idea. You have to speak to Mrs. Stewart. I don't even have a recording. I'm not sure what the policy is on sharing recordings. You might want to speak with Lester Stewart after the presentation to see if that's something that's possible. Did someone else have a question as well?
Yeah, Mr. Richie, I'll
Mhm.
jump in again. You answered the question in a way when you talked about copywriting, because I was concerned that say you did come up with a logo, business plan, whatever, how how um safe is that in that you go out now and you post this thing as yours, you know what I mean? And somebody else says, "Well, I did that before. I can sue you." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
You still have to go through the traditional copywriting procedures. Um, so you definitely want to well, however you would normally copyright your logo. If you had created it or paid a graphic designer yourself, you would go ahead and go through the same process of copywriting, whether a graphic designer created it or if AI created it, it would be the same concept.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night, Mr. Ritchie. Just a question. Does AI have a platform that can help persons to write a book?
Yes, well,
And how do we go about that? Because how do we go about that? Never write a book before, but have ideas and
yeah, yeah.
that
You
needs.
can you can use any of the AI tools to do it. The only thing I would suggest to you is your approach. Um, Before you start just generating writing, what you should do is talk to, like, if you say you choose ChatGPT to help you, go to ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to write a book on this topic. Help me understand how I should go about that process using ChatGPT to generate and edit and manipulate my content. And then I would also, so it'll give you a step-by-step guide. So a lot of times you could use AI to tell you how to use AI in general. I know that goes against what I said earlier about the explaining new features, but it could existing features like that, it can give you a step-by-step instruction. And one of the first things it will tell you is to draft an outline first based on your ideas, and then also is not going to produce a full 500-page book in one prompt. So what you're going to do is you're going to draft and like lock in your title, lock in a little introduction and maybe a table of contents, or like the chapters and what a brief description of what it'll be in. But but what you would do is work on it one piece at a time. So like one nugget or one module at a time. So in the event of writing a book, you might say, let's write the introduction. And then you take that and you kind of move that over into like Microsoft Word. And then you say, all right, now let's write chapter one. Here's my idea. We have the outline of my book. Chapter one talks about XYZ. Let's write chapter one, and then you could edit it and work with it typically in Canvas mode in Google Gemini or in ChatGPT. But my recommendation to you would be to really refine your idea before you start for the book. Gather as much source material as you can, create an initial outline, and then produce the content in small chunks at a time. That's going to give you the best results. Then you can put it all together, and then I would recommend using a product called Notebook LM. It's a product of Google. Notebook LM will allow you to attach all of these. It'll allow you to attach your brainstorm, your rough draft. It'll allow you to attach your introduction, your chapter one, chapter two, chapter three, chapter four, and then you could say, all right, compile this into a book. And it can then start to compile it all together and making sure that it flows and it has a working table of contents and that it has page numbers and headings and subtext and all of that stuff. And then once you have that raw text produced, Then there's a million and one third-party platforms out there that you can pay a small fee for. I think there was Flipbook, I think it was, or if you just look for writing an ebook, you can then take that raw text and it can actually put it into a format that's digestible as a book that's for like organized. It's not just 500 pages of writing. It can put it in columns and add graphics and big page numbers and stuff like that. Flip HTML5 is one of them. But my favorite is one called Visme, VISME. That's one that I played around with recently. It's been helping me to take my my lecture notes and produce student e-manuals, e-guide, e-books. But you could just as easily turn it into a printed book as well. But basically, it takes all of my raw content that I've written and makes it attractive like a book. Organized and laid out in a way that's very professional.
Wow, that's very good information. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I think that might sound like the last of it. Unless anybody else wants to cut me off here and ask one more question, I think this is a good point to wrap it up. I have 8:20 on the clock. Thank you so much for spending your, what is this, Thursday night with me, hour and a half in. I've had a really good time presenting this information to you, and I really love the questions. That's one of my favorite parts of every session. So I hope that you guys have all learned something useful from the class and able to take away at least one or two points to go and do some further research and put it to good use, whether it's in your personal lives, in your communities, in your churches, in your businesses. You know, I know there are many churchgoers and church members here. I remember at Centerville, when I used to go to Centerville, when I was in Nassau, they had the bulletins every Saturday, right? So you can use AI to create your bulletins. I used to help create the bulletins back in like 15 years ago. And now with AI, that could be what used to take me 4 or 5 hours could be done in 30 seconds. So please look for ways that you can use it to help yourselves, your businesses, your communities, your churches, your family. I guarantee you that the more you play around with it, the more you'll unlock just how powerful this is and how it can just help you to do more with less. So thank you all once again, and I hope you all have a good rest of your night. Lester, I'll pass it back over to you.